just as we're coming in. Okay. Staff, can I just ask that you warmly move to the side of your year groups, please? So if staff can please position themselves with their associated year group to the side of the rows. Thanks very much. So good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Week 7 Assembly. Welcome also to our Year 8 cohort who join us from the STEM Centre. Can we please be upstanding for the singing of the school's song? St Brendan's College would like to acknowledge the Darumbal people, the traditional owners who have walked upon and cared for this land for thousands of years. We acknowledge the continued deep spiritual attachment and relationship of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples to this country and commit ourselves to the ongoing journey of reconciliation. Let's call Mr Cooper forward for prayer.
Thanks, Mr Reddy. Look, boys, you never know how your day's going to turn out. Mr Pearce was initially down to do this prayer. That was about 24 hours ago, and then he couldn't make it because Mr Horan put him on a PD. So Patrick Slade was next cab off the rank, and unfortunately, Paddy's a no-show today, so I'm assuming he's away sick. So it looks like I'm about to deliver this morning's prayer, so just bear with me. Let's start in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. It helps now and then to step back and take the long view. The kingdom is not only beyond our efforts, it is even beyond our vision. We accomplish in our lifetime only a fraction of the magnificent enterprise that is God's work. Nothing we do is complete, which is in another way of saying that the kingdom always lies beyond us. No statement says all that could be said. No prayer fully expresses our faith. No confession brings perfection. No pastoral visit brings wholeness. No program accomplishes the church's mission. No set of goals and objectives includes everything. This is what we are about. We plant seeds that will one day grow. We water seeds already planted. knowing that they hold future promise. We lay foundations that will need further development. We provide yeast that produces effects far beyond our capabilities. We cannot do everything, and there is no sense of liberation in realising that. There is a sense of liberation in realising that. This enables us to do something and to do it well. It may be incomplete, but it is a beginning, a step along the way, an opportunity for the Lord's grace to enter and do the rest. We may never see the end results, but that is the difference between the master builder and the worker. We are the workers, not the master builders. Ministers, not messiahs. We are prophets of a future, not our own. St. Brendan. Our Lady of Perpetual Help, and live Jesus in our hearts. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. I think while I'm up here, boys, we've just got to touch base with a few things. Mr. Piers wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about Caritas and the important part we can play in creating a better world. I think anyone who sees those videos online of, I guess, the great work that Caritas does in providing not only financial relief, but a source of support for those people who live differently than us. Boys, I can tell you one thing for sure. If you were born in Australia, you have already won the lotto. Once you travel abroad and you go to third world countries and developing countries, you'll realise that. It's one of the most, I remember as an older, I was in my 20s when I first travelled overseas into Asia, and I was going on a trip, was basically designed, it was a surfing trip, so it was going to be a lot of fun. We're hopping on boats and doing all that sort of stuff. And that's the impression that I had when I was heading overseas. That's what it was going to be about. But what struck me is when I landed in Indonesia was the way that other people have to live. And I kind of felt a little bit guilty about all the times that I'd complained about the things that were going on in my life, the things that I felt aggrieved with. And then I saw these people who basically didn't have access to the same opportunities that I had around education, around just being able to go down to the shop and buy milk when I was out of milk. And it really set me back a bit, because anyone who's ever, there'll be a few people that's ever been on a surfing trip would know that feeling of going overseas, you think all you can do is have fun. For the first couple of days, I felt really guilty. The clutch moment for me was my youngest child had just been born. And I'm going past this work site and I saw a little girl. She would have been about 18 months. And she was covered in gunk because her dad was working, essentially building a resort that Western people would go and visit and use that as a source of nighttime fun and all that sort of stuff. And this little girl had to stay with her dad. And essentially, we found out later that it was because her mother had passed away. And her siblings were working on the beach selling trinkets for Westerners to buy. So when you see those Caritas boxes in your PC, it's a chance for you to be selfless. It's a chance for you to do something for someone else. Everyone knows the science behind exercising. It makes you feel good. I've spoken about that in the classes that I have, working hard, all that sort of stuff. But the other part of your life that you can, give to is that capacity to be selfless. And the reward that comes from that, the fact that will sustain you. Just like exercise, just like eating healthy. When you do something for someone else and you give of your own time or your own means, that's something that helps you in the long run, even though you're giving to someone else. So that's a really, really important part of being a St. Brendan's boy. Okay, that capacity to learn the importance of being selfless. That's why in the middle of your crest you'll see a little cross. Okay, that represents Jesus and Edmund Rice's commitment to Jesus. We're coming up to Easter. And I know with the boys in my RE class, we're learning about the fact that whole purpose of Easter is the fact that the greatest being that ever walked on the face of the earth, according to the story, basically decided to lay down his life for everyone. Even the most horrible of human beings. There's a great moment in the Passion when Jesus is getting nailed to the cross. And he says, "Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing." He's not saying save the good people. He's saying even the most lowly of human beings. Okay, and that's the ultimate act of selflessness. And we get a chance to buy into that story by making a contribution through Caritas. So just remember that, boys, when you see those boxes. If you've got any loose change, I know that's a bit of an anomaly these days with the advent of key cards and all that sort of stuff, but if you can do your bit, that's much appreciated, and it goes a long way. Okay, we're about to move on to the next section, Mr. Now let's call forward Mr. Horan to give the Deputy Principal's address.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Good morning, boys. Guys, I was sitting at my desk the other day and I realised I've been out of school 40 years. Okay, so you can do the maths on that and work out how old I am. But 40 years ago, this year, I graduated from secondary school. Okay. And what got me thinking about that was I'd received an email about a class reunion, about a 40th class reunion. The sad irony is, it's not mine. I haven't had, or I'm going to have a 40th reunion. I didn't have a 30th reunion, a 20th or a 10th. In fact, I haven't had a reunion at my school since I left. The reunion email was from the 1983 class of St Brendan's College. So those guys are coming back to celebrate 40 years as old boys out of this particular institution. They had a 30th, they had a 20th, they had a 10th. And for a lot of those guys, they get together most years for different things. Old boys rugby league games, old boys functions, old boys race days. They get together for birthday parties and weddings, and even the weddings of their kids' kids. And that reeks to me of connection. That tells me the importance that those old boys place in this institution and the friendships that they gathered while they were here. And if I look around the chapel now, I can see a number of old boys, and any one of them could get up here and tell you about that connection, about those friendships that they formed, about the brotherhood that we always espouse. Mr. Reddy, Mr. Cooper, Mr. Kaplik, Mr. Draper, Mr. Peckett, okay, Mr. Tidd. All of them could stand here and tell you, I'm going to be having a class reunion at some stage. I regularly connect with the friends that I went to school with. Me, on the other hand, I don't think I've seen anyone from school in the last 20 years. Now, Mr. Minto was nodding. He's probably thinking that says a lot about your personality, Mr. Horan. But it says more about we just didn't have the same connections that you guys will form. And I've told you this before, and I'm envious of those relationships. Okay? And part of my message this morning is that I want each of you to experience that. I want you in 40 years' time, long after I'm gone, to be meeting with the boys that you're sitting with now to celebrate a reunion. Because that's beneficial to your psyche, that's beneficial to your person, and that's beneficial to the group that you hang with. Okay? But I'm going to change tack now and tell you, because there's a few things that have been going on, that you will not get that opportunity if you don't follow the expectations of this college. If first and foremost you don't respect the things that this college is based upon. So if you're going to vape or sell vapes, you won't be here. If you're going to do drugs or sell drugs, you're not going to be here. If you're going to bully or intimidate or harass another person at this college, you will not be an old boy. If you're going to sexually harass any member of our female staff, it's a no-brainer. you're not going to be here. So the ball is in your court, gentlemen, by your actions. The benefits from this place far outweigh anything else that goes along. So think about those things. Thus far this year, 6 boys have been told, do not come back. And they've been told that for a series of those things that I just mentioned. Okay. There are about another 8 boys who've had the conversation with me to say, if you step across that line again, you will not be here. So think whether you want to be a part of a culture that embraces brotherhood. Think if you want to be a part of a culture that espouses friendship. Think if you want to be a part of a culture that allows you to be the person you want to be and 40 years later still be that person with the group of boys that you are sitting with. That is special. But it comes down to you and your actions. In a similar vein, we've got somebody or a group of people at the moment who are shoving toilet rolls down toilet cisterns. They're breaking the soap dispensers in the toilet. They're leaving rubbish in there. They're throwing food around the walls. They're throwing chocolate milk and other things around the wall and spraying it with deodorants, whatever it is they're doing. Okay? That does not speak of culture. But I'm going to put a proposition to that particular person or people and say, you come to my office and tell me what you've done and I'll give you an amnesty. I won't take it any further. Other than this, I will get you to apologise to Tanya Carr. Tanya is one of our cleaners. Tanya is a lady who has to go into your filth, take out those toilet rolls so that other people can use those toilets. Tanya's a lady who's got to go and pick up all the busted soap dispensers and refill them because somebody's broken them. Tanya's the one who's got to step in your urine and go up there and clean those walls because some pig decided that that was going to be funny. Tanya's a single mum of 4. She comes here to work to raise money to support her kids. And someone out there, unthinkingly, is making her do that. So I put that forward to you again. If you're that person, come to my office. I'll introduce you to Tanya. You look Tanya in the eye. You apologise to her for what you're putting her through. And that will be your punishment. Because that takes a hell of a lot of guts and fortitude to be able to admit that you're wrong and do that. And you can be known as a person who made a mistake, had the opportunity to repair it, and repaired it with the person that they are most affecting it. And at the moment, that's Tanya Carr. Alternatively, you don't do that, and you remain the destructive degenerate who's got an unhealthy habit of spending too much time in toilets. You can work out which mantle you would prefer. The opportunity is there for you, gentlemen. Doing the first one is all about culture, recognising you've made a mistake and correcting it. So do I think we have a systemic problem here at St Brendan's? No. 99% of you do the right thing 100% of the time. It's the 1%ers who don't get it. It's the 1%ers who go into those toilets and damage them. It's the 1%ers that niggle and tease the kid with the learning disability. It's the 1%ers who turn their back on staff when they're asked to do something. 1%ers are culture killers. They ruin the tone of a school. The 1%ers are the guys that deliberately leave their rubbish lying on the floor. The 1%ers are the guys that don't acknowledge what they've done when the teacher says to them, but I saw you do that. So you need to work out whether you want to be a 1%er. And if you are a 1%er, you need to work out exactly what it is you're going to say to your parents when you're sitting in my office and I tell them you're not going to be here anymore. Because if you are a 1%er, I will punch you as fast as I can and I will go home at night and I will sleep like a baby. because I love this school and I've dedicated 24 years of it, and I do not want to see that culture broken. And those guys who are coming back later this year to get together as a group of 57-year-old men would respect that as well, because that's why they're coming back, because of things that they learnt when they were here. Please take that on board, gentlemen, okay? Because I don't yell very often, but I will tell you, I will speak it as is when your parents are in there. And there were 4 boys this week who I've already spoken to, and go and speak to any one of them and ask them what my message was to them and their parents. And please understand that very, very clearly. Do I like standing up here and having to give this diatribe? No. I would rather be standing up here and telling you how beautifully Tommy Green spoke to the newspaper reporters from the Central Queensland Connect and the article that they had in the college about St Brendan's. I'd rather be telling you how Sam Flood aced his exam yesterday in core and looks like he's going to get 100%. I'd rather tell you about how Matthew Campbell, who's an old boy at the college, has contacted me a couple of times and wants to speak to all of you about the work that he's just done recently as a medical search and rescue person working in Turkey. Okay? An old boy from this school, over there saving people's lives in Turkey. They're the things I want to tell you about. I want to tell you about how we got a new jersey from last year's State of Origin game that's been signed by Harry Grant and Corey Oates and Benny Hunt, 3 old boys, and that's going to be framed and put up in the museum for you guys. So do the right thing, and I won't have to forego those stories for the ones I've just delivered. Okay. Sorry to the 99% of you who do the right thing. Okay. But reflect on that 1%, please. A couple of other quick, short things, gentlemen. If you are riding a scooter to school, Queensland traffic laws say you need to have a helmet on. Queensland traffic laws state do not use a phone while you're operating a scooter. And Queensland traffic laws state do not have another person on that scooter with you. Okay? Now, if you're in a school uniform on a scooter, you're doing any of those things, you stand out. So get it together. Otherwise, you also won't be attending your 43 union because you'll be a hood ornament on a car. They're a vehicle. You put them on the road, treat them like a vehicle, and please follow those rules. We clear? I hope so. Thank you, boys.
Good morning, gentlemen. Hope we're all doing well. It's been a great start to the year, and by the looks of things, we're starting to settle comfortably into 2023. Already there's been plenty of excitement to go around, whether it be the annual swimming carnival or the early stages of the musical. I know we've all been pretty busy. But as we begin edging closer and closer towards the holidays, we finally find ourselves in the part of term where we become busier again. Boys, the study season has begun. The holidays may be just around the corner, but for the next 3 weeks, it's important that we put our very best effort into whatever tasks we have before us. As the saying goes, work hard, play hard, and now's the time to buckle in and give it all that we've got. I know that for many of us, exams can be a source of anxiety and stress. The pressure to perform well and achieve good grades can feel overwhelming at times. However, it's important to remember that exams are not the only measure of your success. It takes a lot of dedication to come this far, and what's most important is that you can create results that you can be proud of, knowing that you've put in your best effort. But let's not let it get to the last minute. We've all had the experience of racing through an assignment the weekend before it's due, myself included, and it's stressful, counterproductive, and completely avoidable. Pace yourselves, study consistently, and when the exam night rolls around, you can sleep with confidence instead of cramming until the sun comes back up. We're lucky here at St Brendan's to be surrounded by such an extraordinary team of staff members, each of them wanting to see us achieve our goals and become the best men that we can be. Remember that your teachers are on your side and that they're here to help when we need a hand. I'm yet to meet a single St. Brendan's boy who isn't hardworking, resilient, and capable of success. Each and every one of us can achieve great things, and with the support of our teachers, boarding supervisors, parents, and mates, we can accomplish whatever tasks we set our minds to. So far, we've started this year with a bang, so let's keep that momentum going, remembering that the mark of a man is not the things that he achieves, but the way he goes about achieving them. Thank you.
Okay, I just might call Mr. Horan back up to help deliver these trophies. So, guys, a couple of weeks ago we had the swimming carnival. It was returned to a previous model where we actually conducted the carnival as a twilight event. Okay, so we didn't get time on the night for various reasons to present the gathering with the age champions. So I'll just call forward Mr. Horan. And we're going to start with the under-12s. In third place, from Getton's House, Keegan Lowe. In second place, from Hayes House, Sam Lloyd. And in first place, from Getton's House, Henry McGilvray. Thanks, boys. Okay, in the under-13 division. In third place, from Dewig House, Luke Roberts. In second place, from Tynan House, Gus Heckscher. And in first place, from Hayes House, Sonny Isles. Okay, on to the under-14s. In third place, from Hayes House, Logan Young. In second place, from Dewig House, Sam Clements. And in first place, with probably the action shot of the carnival, Oren McGilvray. Okay, our third place winner for 15s isn't here, so we'll go with our second place. From Hayes House in the under-15 division, Oliver King. And in first place in the under-15 division, Nicholas Eaton. Okay, on to our under-16 division. In third place from Hayes House, Fletcher Scanlon. In second place, from Gettins House, Liam Houlihan. And in first place, from Duig House, Alex Eaton. On to our seniors in the open age division. Now, I don't know if this bloke's going to be able to make it up here, but in third place, from Hayes House, Tom Gleeson. Do you want to send someone up for you, Tom? No volunteers? Yeah, okay. Just for the picture so we get a full podium. Yeah. What was the tight tussle for first? There was actually no second place because it was actually a tied for first. So the tied open age champion for 2023. There's two swimmers, obviously, from Duig House, that's Lachlan Mortimer, and from Gettins House, Kalani Walsh. Thanks. Can we give all of our winners a round of applause, please? Also, boys, just while I'm up here regarding the swimming carnival, a huge thank you to Mr. McCluskey and the sports department. Obviously, we moved away from the day carnival, and that was a significant undertaking on their behalf, and it looks like that'll be something we'll be moving forward with in the future. So, whilst I know they're not here, can we please just give Mr. McCluskey and the sports department a round of applause? Thank you.
Morning, gents. Morning, staff. This morning I have the honour of presenting the Year 11 students with their QOTSIF certificates. Now, QOTSIF stands for the Queensland Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Foundation, and basically it's a charitable trust established in 2008, and its purpose is to place an amount of money under the control of the Public Trustee of Queensland. The money comes from two sources. $11 million from the former Aborigines Welfare Fund and a further $15 million from the remaining unspent funds from the Indigenous Wages and Savings Repatriation Scheme. And on a similar little side note to what Mr. Horan was talking about, there's a tangible link between this money going to every Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Year 11 and 12 student and St Brendan's College. Actually, one of the lead barristers on the case, and the case was to recoup money that wasn't paid to Aboriginal workers from like the 30s to the 70s. And the lead barrister was a bloke by the name of Joshua Creamer, who's an old boy of St Brendan's College. And through his work, he was able to secure $190 million, which is a huge amount of money and a lot of money that wasn't received by worthy recipients, and as a result of his efforts, he's contributing to Indigenous kids having a crack at their education throughout Queensland. I might ask Mr Horan to come up again, please, and present these boys with their certificates. Zaven Salam, Braylon Marsh, Bluey Kabai, Blake Johnson, Barry Hankin, Carter Ford, Chance Conroy, Chris Pearson, Elijah Jackson, Ethan Grant, Ethan Harinona. Yep. Ethan Pearson, Harvey Marnie, Joshua Armat, Jesse Markson, Phil Yock, Ryan Brown, Samson Minto, Phil, yeah. Doesn't look like it. Brownie. Tyrell Kenzig and Will Witten. So this scholarship goes towards all these fellas. They're having a crack at their studies and they're having showing a real commitment to their school. So well done, fellas.
Good morning, everyone. 2 weeks ago, we launched the challenge of making 1,000 homemade roses in 10 days for International Women's Day here at St. Brendan's, a school made up of almost 1,000 boys. Since then, we've been busy in the library with many of you making roses, and some of you coming every single day. Your help, commitment, and effort didn't go unnoticed. Thank you to all the students that dedicated time to the project and to the teaching and support staff who helped achieve our goal and deliver a strong message of support, acknowledgement, and respect for all women.
I'm happy to announce that the final count has exceeded the initial target we set, with 1,115 roses made. A massive congratulations to everyone involved. The roses are now available for you to take home. Let's celebrate a female member of our family, a friend, or a teacher today. The roses can be collected from outside the library only during second break. Happy International Women's Day.
Okay, now I'd like to call forward Mr. Ingram to to perform a musical item. Thank you, Mr. Ingram, and the boys performing that musical item. Can we give them one last round of applause, please? Okay, boys, at the conclusion of this assembly, can I just ask those two groups, the QuatSIF recipients and the age champions, if you could remain behind, please. We just need to take another couple of photos. A couple of things, boys, and just to add to what Mr. Horan was speaking about in his address, on a really positive note, I was down at a Yeppoon takeaway venue. It's actually the new health food shop that's right next to the cafe there. I think it's called Monkey Juice. And the lady there who was behind the counter, and she's the proprietor, she basically said, I just want to pass on to you a word of thanks and gratitude, particularly to the way your boys behave when they're in here. Okay, she said that they're always very polite, well-mannered, and are great examples of a St Brendan's boy. So that's outstanding. But boys, the other thing too that has happened in the last couple of days is, for whatever reason, there's a very small group of students who believe it's okay to instigate and encourage boys to be a part of a physical altercation. Now, anyone who's been in my office, who's been in trouble, or Mr Gill's office, would know that the school is lit up by CCT cameras. And we actually saw a group of boys who I know, who I've taught before, some of them are really good kids, make a really big mistake. They actually encouraged the boy to get involved in a fight and followed him all the way over to another location in the school. And then they made it difficult for both of those boys to remove themselves from that situation. A letter's going to go out to the school community. And I want you to listen in really carefully, because I just was speaking to Mr Coolboy this morning. If you are found to be encouraging any sort of physical altercation, then your enrolment will be in jeopardy. Okay, so we've had 2 incidents in the last couple of weeks. Make sure you're not that person. In a similar vein, if you think that it's okay to take your phone out and film any incident here at the school, then you are putting your enrolment in jeopardy. That will not be tolerated. So I hope those boys who are involved in that are listening. So that will be put in writing and sent home to your parents. One of the interesting things that I've found in my time here is that when you have that conversation with a boy, the person who's been involved in that, the first question I ask him is, do you want to be here? I can tell you, as sure as I'm standing here, that always ends in tears. It's a really emotional time, because they say, yes, I do. I'm expecting them to say, no, I don't. And in that moment, whatever they've tried to do in order to be a part of that peer group or to show off in front of their mates, it's not worth it. Okay, we spoke about at the start the importance of giving to Caritas and how that's a selfless act. When you involve yourself as a bystander who encourages people to commit breaches of the student code of conduct, that's the exact opposite. You are trying to, I guess in some ways, have fun at the expense of someone else's dignity. So make sure you take heed, boys. Those boys who have been involved in that, you need to make sure that you don't do that again. Okay, now, I reckon about 2 years ago, maybe even longer, I stood up here on assembly and I made a rather bold statement about what we're going to do, because obviously we're concerned about the rubbish in the yard and boys getting to class on time. And I said we're going to introduce a 3rd bell. It's an early bell. And it's a distinctive sound, okay? Now what the idea of that bell, and you're going to hear it today at 11:14. It doesn't mean move off to class, it means stop what you're doing, have a look in your area and make sure you pick up any rubbish. Now that practice already exists in the canteen in the hall, and it's quite successful. I think Mr Reddy brought it in a couple of years ago when he was the head of department for physical education. And you'd note that if you've been in the hall, you're playing basketball, the teacher comes out, they blow the whistle, all the balls come in, rubbish is picked up, everyone heads out, and everyone is heading to class by the time that first bell goes. Okay, now at the moment the oval is out of bounds, but one of the perennial problems we've got here at the school is that boys, in the excitement of congregating at lunchtime and socialising, often are unaware of their surroundings and leave rubbish lying around. So when you hear that bell, you've got to stop what you're doing, pick up, tidy the rubbish up in your area, and then once you've done that, obviously the first bell for the next, the end of the break will sound, and then you head off to class. Now obviously next term, when we reconsider opening up the main oval, that will become more effective, because at times it's difficult for those boys who are engaged in a life or death game of touch football on the oval to stop what they're doing and head off to class. So that's going to sound today at 11:14 and then again at 1:50. So those boys on the handball courts near the library need to stop what you're doing, go back to your bag and pick up any rubbish that's in those gardens or around the library. Those boys who are sitting on the port racks, those boys who are under the huts, you need to make sure that you clean that area in the vicinity of where you're sitting. Now, when we considered this, we took into account that some boys might sit there and say, I'm not doing that. Now, all I'm asking those staff who are on duty, if that's the case, just take the name of that boy and send them directly to mine or Mr. Gill's office. Because boys, picking up rubbish, tucking your shirt in, that's considered what we call a reasonable request. And when you are issued a reasonable request from a member of staff, you follow it. And in doing so, we actually do something. We tidy up our own environment. That also is doing something that's selfless. Okay? And the excuse cannot be, or the response to the teacher cannot be, that's not my rubbish. You pick it up anyway. I'm hopeful that after a couple of weeks of doing this, if we start to see a reduction in the amount of rubbish in the yard, then that might be something we can then look at changing again. Now, fellas, before I sound this bell, because I'm going to give you a test run, what I can say is finding a digital sound that's distinctive from our own bell was a task that I thought was going to be easy, but it wasn't that easy. Okay? Now, when you hear this, you're probably going to be thinking, sounds a bit like a ferry about to head off across the harbour in the 1800s. Okay? But I was chasing a distinctive sound, and with Mr. Horan and Mr. Reddy in particular, they were both in agreement that this was the sound that we were going to use. Now, we may change the sound going forward, but Mr. Jorgen, if you wouldn't, Mr. Jorgensen, if you wouldn't mind, please. Right, when you hear that, boys, that'll sound across our bell system. That means stop what you're doing. Pick up, the guys in the hall will already get the whistle around that time. Okay, so they'll hear that. The boys in the cafeteria will hear me or Mr. Horan tell you to pack up anyway. But the boys out in the yard, you have to stop what you're doing, stop your handball game, and make sure you pick up the rubbish in your vicinity, and then get ready to head off to period, it'll be period 3 or period 5. Okay, now before we go, Curtis Brealey, Joe Rolfe, Kobe Iker and Declan Tracy, you need to go to the health centre at the end of this. So can I ask the Year 12s to stand, please? You can head off to period 2. Grade 11s, could you please stand? Year 10s, could you please stand? Yeah. Reminder, if you're an age champion or a QuatSIF recipient winner, can you please remain behind? Year 7s, could you please stand? Year 9s, if you can stand and head out the rear door, please.